Hello. This is my video essay on storytelling. Enjoy. The importance of storytelling in the creative industries. Through storytelling, people are able to pass along and process information, better relationships, share opinions, and allow others to view different environments and places through others' eyes. That is my main point, viewing information through others' eyes. Isn't it interesting to see how many different views there are? Sure, you don't need to agree with them, but it's endearing to have similar ones to others. Being more specific, creating stories through animation involves a lot of dedication and motivation. You may have the most brilliant story to share, but to animate it, that's a different story, as there are many options to choose from, like digital 2D and 3D animation, stop motion, and traditional. Overall, you need to make sure what you're animating is entertaining to watch. The same goes for film and TV. To create good quality movies, you must make sure the story fits with what viewers will be watching, as if it doesn't make sense, what's the point in watching it? 3 key elements of storytelling. That being character archetypes, conflict, and resolution. To develop a character's archetype, you must determine whether they'll be a minor character, someone who's mainly in the background, or a main character, that's involved in the main plot of a story. Character archetypes will be given specific traits to match the archetype. This creates a personality for them. For example, if every character had the mean boy archetype, then you'd be sat there watching Biff argue with himself for hours on end. Might be a little amusing, but it's extremely boring and there's not an intriguing story behind the characters due to them being literal replicas. Obstacles in stories are created in hopes of a goal being achieved through struggle and development, and by the end they should have reached the goal, like finding an ancient treasure that's been hidden, like in the Goonies. Though we may see a selfish person react carelessly in the beginning to becoming the most selfless of them all. For example, in Peanut Butter Falcon, Zack wants to pursue his goal of being a wrestler, but where he is at the beginning, it almost seems impossible. But through the support of Tyler, he's able to finally be able to compete in a wrestling match. Traditional and emerging storytelling. Oral storytelling is the most common way of sharing stories, as it can be through voice and movements relating to the story. There are many forms it can take, for example, poems, rhymes, songs. These can involve myths, religion, and prayers. Cultural traditions are passed down through stories. For example, Choctaw, a Native American tribe, have an oral storytelling that goes back generations. The stories they share were meant to maintain the tribe's history and educate the young. Storytelling could be told through cave paintings, due to the depictions of animals and human-like figures. A cave painting that has the imagery of a Sulawesi warty pig, in the Ling Tedong cave on Indonesia's Sulawesi island. This imagery shows a real story of a hunting scene that's been thought to be 44,000 years old. Another way is telling them through literature. This is an ongoing historical development in prose or poetry that strives to amuse, enlighten, or instruct its viewers. 2 main emerging ways of storytelling are through movies, shows and video games, on consoles and VR. In both, the story unfolds right in front of you. You are able to hear it as well as visually see it, which is a drastic change from traditional ways of storytelling. Though the difference is in video games, you may be able to interact with the story and make your own decisions, therefore meaning there's multiple endings that you can choose for your story. How can traditional or emerging storytelling change throughout generations? First, you have to understand that no matter how the story originally started out, it will always change throughout time, no matter the subject. When things get passed along, there are changes made, some good, some bad. But that's just how it is. If we focus on the story Pinocchio, his story originally started on a comic strip in the local newspaper, called The Adventures of Pinocchio, though this story was different from today's version, as it was a lot darker. As time moved on, it was created into the form of a book in 1883. Movies were being made of The Adventures of Buratino Pinocchio throughout 1959 to 1996. Then eventually the Walt Disney's original animated Pinocchio came out in 1940, and it was a hit. The movie was made to be the complete opposite of the original tale, meaning it's more child-friendly now. But the movies didn't stop there. Instead of being animated, the 2019 version of Pinocchio came out, and just recently the 2022 version has been released. This story has had a drastic change over the years, as it's not even the original story anymore. At least it won't be a nightmare for any more kids.